poopy pants. What's new?
Not a lot. How are you doing?
I'm great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Slay What? I'm Ariel.
I'm Bree.
And this is a podcast where two women will not shut the fuck up.
About horror.
And what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the Firefly trilogy. So House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and Three from Hell. And I am so excited.
We thought we'd start the episode by talking about a little trip we all did.
Yeah, so we went to Chicago because my friend Vinny owns the horror house down there. And they were doing a screening of House of a Thousand Corpses with a meet and greet with Bill Moseley. And I bought Ariel tickets for Christmas.
And I cried about it.
I just loved how we were standing in line outside of Music Box Theater and we could see Bill Moseley through the glass. And Ariel was like, oh my God, it's him. I'm so excited.
No, I said, oh no, he's right there. And Chance was like, Ariel, I need you to chill out.
Yeah, it was great. And then what did he say when he met us?
Literally, when we were in line, my head was blank. Nothing was happening. I was like, say something cool, do something. No, nothing was happening in my brain. And when we got up there, he was like, who am I writing this out to? Because we got a picture that he signed.
Here's the picture.
And I said, you can make it out to Ariel and Bree. And then I was like, and Bree is spelled B-R-I. And he was like, okay, well, how is Ariel spelled? Because I was more concerned about how he would spell your name than mine.
Because people always try to spell my name like the cheese.
And I was like, oh, just like the mermaid. Like Ariel, and that's how you spell my name. And he was like, oh, I've never seen that movie. And I just went, oh. And that was it.
And then he
all I said to that man who I love.
And we got a picture with him.
And I was like, no, I want Chance in the picture too. Come here, Chance. And Bill had to turn to Chance and go, oh, and what's your name? Because we just did not introduce you to Bill Moseley.
Your face, Chance, you looked so motherfucking unimpressed.
You looked.
Please insert photo here.
Insert photo.
Insert photo here. Yeah, I didn't know who he was. You kept saying Bill Moseley, and I'm like, oh yeah, no fucking clue. But trip with my friends.
Yeah. So after the trip, we decided. Well, it was before the trip, I guess. We decided to cover these movies, and it just happened to fall within the time frame that we were going to Chicago.
I think we knew when we were going to Chicago, and we said we would.
We kind of planned it around
before.
So let's talk about House of a Thousand Corpses.
Let's see if I can carry an episode. All right. So we're starting with the first movie, House of a Thousand Corpses. So it was Rob Zombie's directorial debut. It was completed in 2000, but it wasn't released until 2003.
Yep.
Do you know why?
I don't.
Issues with two different production companies.
Okay.
Universal bought the rights initially, but then they sold them when they saw the final cut. And they were like, I don't think we could do this. We couldn't release this unless we give it an NC-17 rating. And they didn't want to do that. And so I think Rob Zombie bought the rights back from them. But before that, when he found out that Universal was like, psych, we don't want these anymore, he went, this movie is called House of a Thousand Corpses. What did they think the movie was going to be about?
But true, though.
So then I think briefly MGM had bought the rights and held on to them. And then Zombie had to buy them back again. But then it was ultimately released by Lionsgate, but they gave it a no rating. It was unrated. Because Rob Zombie said the R rating was he was I fucking hate this. But he still looks back at House of a Thousand Corpses as it exists now. And he's like, it's a mess and I don't like it, even though it's one of my favorites.
It is. I watched that movie so many times. The amount of times I made my friends watch this movie.
So I saw it in theaters. I think we talked about that in the intro episode.
Yeah.
It was one of the first horror movies I saw in theaters, just with me and a friend. I used to show people it in college.
Right. Yeah.
Come watch Rob Zombie movies with me in the dorm. That. Yeah. That's what I used to do as well.
I wish we knew each other in college.
I know. So we're going to go almost beat by beat through the plot, but I want either of you to stop me if you have anything to say. Because Chance says he has all caps thoughts.
I have thoughts.
Because we made Chance come to this viewing with us.
Yeah,
and it was the first time that he had ever seen House of a Thousand Corpses.
That's another thing Bill Moseley said to him. When we were all meeting, you said, oh, Chance has never actually seen this movie. To Bill Moseley, one of the actors, one of the main actors. And he goes, oh, you're in for a treat.
Very sweet man.
Oh, he's so lovely. He always wears his like little hockey
Yeah.
like
Jersey.
Jersey.
It's like a jersey. Yeah.
Sweater. They call it a sweater.
Do they?
Do they?
Yeah.
They call it a hockey sweater?
It's a hockey sweater.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Ooh, I should know that. I was really into hockey when I was a little younger.
Oh, well, yeah. He wears his little hockey sweater.
It's either Chop Top on the front
Mhm.
or it's Otis on the front.
Yep.
Anyways, yeah, he's adorable. Let's go through this. So this movie takes place October 30th through November 1st, 1977,
Yep. That sounds right.
in Rugsville, Texas. We open on a scene inside of Captain Spaulding's museum.
He is my favorite.
I know, a museum of monsters and madmen. It's a gas station that's full of oddities that also sells fried chicken. I feel like the scene is just to set up what kind of character we're dealing with Captain Spaulding.
Yep.
Because two robbers come in, attempt to rob him. He makes fun of them to the point that he's able to get the upper hand and shoots them and kills them both. Cut to the title sequence. Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses plays it like over.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of really fun scenes, some of which were shot in his basement.
Yeah, which I think is fun.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. A lot of scenes are. Then we're following two couples, Denise and Jerry and Mary and Bill, traveling across the country doing research on various roadside attractions, which I've thought about this a lot, and I would love to do that.
We should do that.
I feel like that would be a fantastic job.
You want to come,
Or I
Chance?
think it's like a PA. They're doing like their masters in like roadside attractions
Yeah.
and writing a like dissertation on it.
I would love to do that.
That would be so fun.
But I want it to be weird shit. I don't want it to
Oh,
be
of
like,
course.
oh, it's like the biggest spool of thread or
Yeah,
some
no one
stupid
cares
shit.
about that. I
No.
want it, weird shit only.
No, I want to see Alligator Boy.
Right.
The couples arrive at Captain Spaulding's. They go on his murder ride, where they learn about a local serial killer named Dr. Satan.
Dr. Satan.
Dr. Satan! Or S. Quentin Quayle. He was a sadistic. Oh my God. Sadistic. He was a mean doctor. He did experimental surgeries on patients at a mental institution.
Okay.
Because he wanted to create a new species of superhumans. After the ride, they're interested in finding the tree where this doctor was hung by locals. Captain Spaulding draws them a map, and they drive out. On the way, they pick up a hitchhiker played by Sherry Moon Zombie. Her name's Baby, and she's the hottest person
She literally
I've ever
is.
seen in my life.
Every time I watch that movie, I'm like,
So they pick up Baby. They ask her about the tree, and she's like, oh, that's right by my house. We could just go to my house. And as they're driving there, you can see a figure in the woods, shoots out their tire. Baby takes Bill, aka one half of one couple, who is also played by Rainn Wilson, to her house to get her brother to tow the car. RJ, who is Rufus Jr., who is Baby's brother, tows the other three to the house to change their tire,
right.
and they have to sit there and wait.
Mm-hmm.
While they're all waiting for their car to get fixed, we meet Mother Firefly, Baby's mother, Tiny, who is not so tiny, Grandpa Hugo, and Otis B. Driftwood,
Our favorite.
Bill Moseley. So while like the entire time they're at their house, there are scenes cut in of Otis torturing a woman, Otis going on weird rants, Baby touching herself next to an actual skeleton, and Baby going on rants. The scenes of her touching herself next to a skeleton were meant to be much longer and depict her actually climaxing. It was meant to be more like necrophilia. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
I'm just imagine like a Universal executive being like, oh, dope. We're 15 minutes into this movie. I don't think so.
I would love to sit in that room with those executives, though, to be watching this movie and be like, maybe.
Oh, what did he say? Rob Zombie said in an interview about the viewing of these there was a huge like theater viewing of House of a Thousand Corpses, and like the Universal executives were in the front. Rob Zombie was like, oh, people were cheering. They were cheering at the wrong things, but everyone was like, it seemed to be enjoying it. So he like walks up to the executives afterwards and he's like,
Yeah.
seems like a success, right?
Yeah.
And this was like the uncut version.
Okay.
So like NC-17
Yeah.
X version. And they were like, yeah, we should probably talk tomorrow. And that's when they were like, yeah, I don't think we're going to do this. Anyway, so all those scenes, they're very gritty. They're very grimy of like Otis torturing a girl, baby touching herself next to it.
But those
were
scenes,
filmed in Rob Zombie's basement.
Yeah. That make me think of like Grindhouse films. It gives me Grindhouse. And I think that's why I love that movie so much.
Or like Robert Rodriguez? Those films?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Spy Kids.
That's specifically what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Specifically Spy Kids. It's giving Spy Kids.
You heard it here first from Slay What?
House of a
Thousand Corpses is giving Spy Kids.
Okay. We then see Showtime, where Grandpa Hugo performs perverted comedy.
Oh, yeah.
And Baby performs a lip sync, basically in drag.
Yep.
But then she sits on Bill's lap, Rainn Wilson's lap. Mary calls her a slut, and then Baby pulls out a knife and says, what?
Oh, God, I don't even remember what
I quoted it directly. I didn't have to look it up. I know exactly what she says.
What did she say?
I'm going to cut your tits off and shove them down your throat. Amazing. 10 out of 10. Though, like, threat I love the most in horror is in Scream 4 when Ghostface says, I'm going to cut your eyelids open so you can't blink when I stab you in the face.
Yeah.
This is my second favorite.
I'm
going to cut your tits off and shove them down your throat. Amazing. Suddenly it's announced the car's done. RJ comes in and is like, your car's done. It's ready to go. The gang leaves, but they're accosted by Otis and Tiny immediately. Their car's destroyed. 3 of them are ripped out of the car with Mary, the worst character, left in the car.
I fucking hate her. Why do we hate her so much?
I feel like it's going to be, I feel like we have to like examine ourselves and like maybe our own internalized misogyny.
I feel like she just gives off the aura of like being better than everybody else.
Yeah, there's a part in the beginning where like, maybe we don't go on the ride. Maybe we do.
She just sounds boring. I think that's what it is. She seems very boring and like she only wants to do things she wants to do and isn't willing to do anything fun.
Well, she gets hers. So, and we'll see that. Okay. So, scene ends end of October 30th. It is Halloween. Mary wakes up in Otis's room and we get probably the best rant. From Bill Moseley. I used to know it by heart. But then we finally discover Bill's fate, her boyfriend's fate.
Yep.
He turns into what, guys?
Fish boy.
Fish boy.
Fish boy! Yeah. Otis turned Bill into part man, part fish. Denise is made up as a doll and tied up in Tiny's room. But Tiny is like the most innocent character in all of this.
I know, he really is.
He's a chill guy.
We'll get into that a little bit later because I'm going to go through our key players. And then Jerry is tied up in Baby's room and she scalps him because he doesn't know her favorite actress.
Yep.
So he's scalped, or partially. Denise, I think, is mostly fine. Anyways, this whole time, Denise's dad, the sheriff, and his deputy are looking for them.
Yep.
Because Denise said, we'll be back around this time. We're at this place called Captain Spaulding's. And so he knows, like, to call the cops when they don't show up. I think they said like we'll be home at like 11 p.m.
Right.
They get to Captain Spaulding's and he informs them like, oh yeah, I saw these kids. I drew them a map to Dr. Satan's tree. I didn't think it would be a problem. It's just like right down the street. So Denise's dad, the sheriff, and the deputy arrive at the Firefly home. And thus proceeds my favorite scene of the whole movie.
The best scene.
It is actually
in
the best
whole movie.
Yeah. So Denise's dad and one cop, the deputy, explore the grounds, and the other cop goes inside to talk to Mother Firefly. Mother Firefly is only there to distract. So Sheriff Wydell is killed by Mother Firefly with a shot to the neck. Denise's dad is shot in the back by Otis, and the deputy is held at gunpoint for how long?
It's like
29 seconds?
No.
It's longer than that, isn't it?
No, shorter.
It's short. 25 seconds, wasn't it?
A little longer.
27.
28.
26!
Oh, it was a long time.
Before being shot in the head and killed. Otis skins Denise's dad, who was shot in the back.
Yep.
And wears it. Wears the skin.
Love that for him.
Denise, Mary, and Jerry are put in animal onesies.
They're bunnies, aren't they?
I said animal because I was like, I think they're rabbits. Because
They're rabbits.
Yeah, 'cause she's like, run, rabbit, run.
Is there a difference between a bunny and a rabbit?
Yeah, I think rabbits are
Grown.
feral. No, wait.
What?
I don't know. Bunny is a cuter word.
Bunnies are cute. When I think of bunnies, I think of like little babies. And when I think of like rabbits, I think of like adult bunnies. Does that make sense?
It kind of makes sense, I guess.
I'm like really trying to think.
The rabbits specifically in the movie, though.
It is yeah, it's rabbit. So yeah, they're put in rabbit onesies. Yeah, Otis comes down, makes out with Denise, his skin on.
Yep.
And says the boogeyman is real and you found him. All right, so they're brought out to their ritual grounds. Mary, our least favorite character, escapes, but is hunted down and repeatedly stabbed by Baby. And then Mary's body is ultimately burned. Denise and Jerry are then lowered into the ground in a coffin. Jerry is dragged away by creatures. They just look like humanoids. They almost look like descent creatures.
Yeah, they kind of do.
And it's like in the water. So it's
Yep.
like, Denise finds her way to Dr. Satan's lair. He's real.
Dr. Satan
He
is
is not
real.
just an urban legend. Dr. Satan in the like original cut of this movie, or the original maybe screenplay that Rob Zombie like put forth, and I think shot almost, Dr. Satan wasn't supposed to be real. He's supposed to be an urban legend that they made up and utilized to lure victims.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
But wasn't the reason that they ended up including it was because he finished a cut of the movie with an ending that he absolutely hated, and then he took it to the executives knowing that they would be like, this ending fucking sucks. Here's a pile of money to make it better.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So Denise gets to his lair, and it's basically an operating room. Dr. Satan is like a fucking controlled by machines, basically.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he's operating on Jerry.
Yep.
He's like a Morton Joe from Mad Max Fury Road
Oh, yes.
mixed with like a fucking puppet. You know what I
He
mean?
also, okay, and this in the nicest way possible, he kind of looks like Bill Moseley in this movie too.
He does look a lot like
the
Otis.
like the hair.
Yeah,
the-
he does.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And then Denise is pursued by the professor. So he's like that large dude with like the
Goggles?
goggles. Fun fact, that man could not actually see through those.
Oh.
So when he was like swinging shit at the actress that was playing Denise, she was literally having to like dip and dodge.
Almost
for her
got hit,
fucking life.
hit by an actual axe.
An actual axe. Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She ends up ducking at the right moment. Everything collapses and she ultimately like escapes. And when
Yep.
she escapes, she's like escaping like up. So she's no longer down in the lair. She like crawls her way out.
Yep.
As she's walking down the road, she's like, she waves a car down. Who's in the car?
Captain Spaulding.
He finds her walking down the side of the road, picks her up so she's safe. Right?
She's not safe.
No, she's not. Otis pops his ass up in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's just like a stabbing motion.
Yeah.
Fades to black. And then all of a sudden it's like, poof. She wakes up, like her eyes are open, and she's
Mhm.
being operated on by Dr. Satan, which I feel like now that I'm really thinking about it, that's fucking scary. And I agree with you that that's probably one of the scariest parts. Like the whole Dr. Satan shit.
Yeah.
Pretty fucked. All right. Well, that's all I have for House of a Thousand Corpses.
I motherfucking love that movie.
I know it's so
I don't even know
good.
why. Because it's very convoluted.
It's so convoluted, and also Rob Zombie, like, I don't know if it was recently, but maybe when like 3 from Hell came out, they were asking him about House of a Thousand Corpses, and he was like, oh, I look back on it and I feel like it's a fucking mess.
It kind of is.
Well, so I wanted to talk about why you guys love this movie so much. I had no clue what it was about or anything, and I was honestly surprised that you guys love this movie so much. Like, because it's a straight up exploitation movie.
That's on purpose.
I know, but here's the thing. I feel like it is a modern exploitation movie, which I love exploitation movies, but when it's a modern one, and like this was shot in like 99, right?
Well, summer of 2000.
Yeah.
Shot in 2000. Like we weren't at the same point with like feminism and all that as we are now in the internet, but I was surprised that you guys like it so much when it's just a straight up exploitation movie that doesn't seem to actually be like saying anything about the genre. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't get any subtext, really. It felt to me like it was very much just, hey, exploitation movies are fucking awesome. I'm going to make an exploitation movie that has just horrendous like sexual violence against women, but isn't actually like saying anything about the genre of exploitation. You know what I mean?
I absolutely know what you mean.
So that's why I was like curious why you guys love this movie so much. Not that it's a bad movie or anything, but like I was curious what your thoughts are on that.
Well, now, yeah, I guess now you're making me feel bad about liking this movie.
No, I'm not trying to make you feel bad about liking it. I was just
I think a
curious.
lot of it is nostalgia that
No,
came
that
out
and like what we talked about last.
It came out when we were young.
Mhm.
It was one of the first horror movies that we like watched, and it almost was like we felt a little uncomfortable by it. And it like was one of those first movies where like this makes me feel kind of uncomfy, and it kind of made you like it more for that reason. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It absolutely does, but also like Chance is making me really think because I don't even know why.
I don't even know why either.
I
Because
think I
he has a point.
He absolutely has a point. And I knew this was going to be brought up because it is like a lot of violence directed towards women. Absolutely it is.
Right.
And I don't know if Rob Zombie was trying to say anything in this movie.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. It was his first
And
movie.
I really, my reading of it was that it wasn't really trying to say anything. It was a bunch of pieces that he thought were really cool and kind of edgelord sort of vibe packaged into a thing because it's gory and violent and that appeals to people, but wasn't actually like, you know, making commentary on that, which it's not like everything needs to make commentary on it, but I think some of the best things do. And again, not like I didn't enjoy the movie. I did. I thought the art house elements in it were really, my film major is coming out if you can't tell. Also, I feel like the art house elements of it were super cool. Best parts of the movie. The Dr. Satan stuff was fucking awesome. I love that shit where it just takes a complete right turn.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I was curious what you guys can pinpoint why. But if you can't, that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with liking the movie, obviously. Yeah.
Eat my ass. Yeah, I guess I would just say because of nostalgia.
Yeah, it almost is. Like,
And I'm like, I'm like always viewing it through the lens of being that 12-year-old girl that like saw it, didn't understand anything about feminism, anything about
right.
movies.
And I was like watching it
Or
and I was
media
like,
literacy.
this is
at all.
unlike
Yeah.
anything that I have ever fucking seen.
It was like more brutal than anything I'd ever seen.
Right.
And I was like craving more of that.
Right. From a feminist standpoint, like watching movies like this, when you're a woman, and I've talked about this before, like horror movies are a way to cope and deal with reality. And the truth is that most violent crimes are committed against women. And so when we're watching this, it's almost like a way for us to cope and deal with reality. Like we're seeing it on screen. We realize that like this isn't actually happening, and it's almost like therapeutic.
Well, that's how I feel about horror movies and anxiety. People
Right,
are like,
exactly.
you have like a severe anxiety disorder. I have a panic disorder and a
Yeah.
severe anxiety disorder. And they're like, how do you like get through, like, how do you get through horror movies? Like, how do you enjoy that? And I'm like, because I have an anxiety disorder for no reason. So I wake up and I'm like, I'm panicked and I don't know fucking why.
Right.
Like, I have no fucking clue why I'm panicking. My brain is telling me to, though.
Mm-hmm.
Finally stopped having panic attacks. And so watching horror movies, it's a way to place my panic and my anxiety somewhere.
Exactly.
And it makes it feel, you know, it makes it feel regulated. And
right. Exactly.
yeah. Sorry, but that's beyond, I mean, the grotesque violence that is
Well,
that is perpetrated against
but I
women
think
in
that's
this
part
fucking
of
movie.
it. Is like as women watching that on screen, we're watching it from a safe distance. It's like almost safe to be watching it and not experiencing it.
Sure.
That was one of my next questions about it was like, is the fact that it is violence that's aimed towards women that makes it particularly like scary or, you know, cathartic for you?
Right.
And I
because
think
watching
what
that
you're saying is
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
makes me very uncomfortable because I am a woman.
Oh, yeah. Like, oof. Yeah.
So it does make me uncomfortable, but also like it
Especially
helps.
the scenes where it looks like it's being shot from like a home video.
Right. It's so grotesque and violent, but that's why it's almost like comforting in a way, in a weird way.
But I like genuinely, I don't know if Rob Zombie was trying to make any sort of like
I don't think he was.
like
I didn't
anything
get the
that.
vibe that he was.
I
Yeah.
don't think he
no,
was.
no.
No.
And that's okay. I just,
But his influence for this movie were 1970s horror films from Wes Craven and Tobe Hooper.
Okay.
So like Texas Chainsaw
Yeah.
Massacre was always like one of the most like because of what? It's a fucking insane cannibalistic, sadistic family.
Right.
And then Universal monster movies, which we know he loves.
Yep. Especially the monsters.
All right. Well, my next thing is just to go through Devil's Rejects,
Okay.
if you're interested. All right. So The Devil's Rejects was released in 2005. So 2 years after it came out, technically 5 years after the initial one was shot. This movie was more of a black comedy, road drama, crime
Mm-hmm.
movie, whereas House of a Thousand Corpses is like art house.
Yep.
Horror.
Yep.
and
Cartoony.
holy vibe shift, Batman.
I
I
know,
know.
but that was on purpose.
Mhm.
Rob Zombie said in an interview that he fucking hates sequels. And so instead of doing a sequel, what he essentially wanted to do was to make a whole new movie.
Whole new movie.
But everyone loved the Firefly so much, like it literally had a cult following, that he was like, well, I'll do it. I'll continue these characters. But what I'm going to do is make a whole fucking entirely different movie, which he totally did.
He totally did.
I think I love The Devil's Rejects the most out of all of them. Even though House of a Thousand Corpses is in my favorite horror movies of all time,
Yeah.
I think I love The Devil's Rejects a little bit more. Even though it's still horrific towards women, baby. I know. I see you.
No, they didn't say shit.
Rob Zombie said for this movie he was influenced specifically by violent westerns, Bonnie and Clyde, and exploitation cinema, which is very real, very present.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed this when I was younger and I saw it in theaters. I was like, whoa, why do I like the Fireflies in this movie? Like, why do they feel like I'm like feeling for them? Why do I like them? And it's because like Zombie was like, I'm going to make them the villainous protagonists
Right.
rather than the horrific antagonists of the first one.
I guess I never really got that. I never like felt for them like in a way that I do in like,
I just liked them.
yeah. They're funny as
I didn't
fuck.
like any of them in the first one.
No. Yeah. You like them a little bit more, I guess. in
Except for
Devil's
when
Rejects.
Baby says, hey, Poopy Pants, what's new?
One of the best lines
One of the best lines
ever.
ever. Yeah, otherwise I mean, no, I like really was like at the end of the Devil's Rejects, I was like, oh, I love them.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Zombie completely removed the Dr. Satan subplot from the Devil's Rejects.
Womp womp. Chance, were you upset?
Sorry, Chance.
Okay, so we talked about this at the end after we watched House of a Thousand Corpses together, and I said that the Dr. Satan stuff was my favorite. But like watching that, it feels like just this kind of left turn that isn't going to continue. So I wasn't surprised that it didn't continue. I would love to see a full Dr. Satan movie, but I understand.
Maybe he should actually consider doing that. Because like he's been interviewed and he's like, maybe I would do more with these characters. But then I saw another interview. He was like, no, we're fucking done. And I'm like, what do you mean? Rob.
Please no.
Initially in The Devil's Rejects, there was a scene of Dr. Satan in a hospital who was killing his nurse, who was played by Rosario Dawson. Apparently, he hired her for a day, but he decided to remove it because he felt it didn't work with the rest of the movie. Because he's like, I'm like completely tone shifting.
Yeah, right.
Like, why do we need to include Dr. Satan? I think when I was younger, I like didn't understand the Dr. Satan shit. I didn't appreciate the Dr. Satan shit as much as I do now.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie starts 7 months after the events of House of a Thousand Corpses.
Okay.
This is The Devil's Rejects.
That's good to know. I guess I didn't realize how long after.
7 months.
Okay, 7 months.
So a police search and destroy mission takes place at the Firefly home that's led by George Wydell's
Mm-hmm.
brother, John Wydell. It's
Yep.
confusing. They're both sheriffs. George, John.
Yep.
John Whitell is like the one who is leading this mission. Here's my thing. There's this really cool opening sequence of The Devil's Rejects where you can totally tell it's being influenced by Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because it opens with like a weird voice and like a voiceover that says like, on May 11, 1978, this is what's happening at the Firefly Ranch.
Yep.
And all of that. During that, they say the Firefly family is only responsible for 75 homicides.
Only 75.
Hello?
Only 75, Ariel.
I feel like it's more.
It's probably more, but 75 is still a fucking lot.
No, but I'm saying it should be more.
That's a lot, dude.
Okay, when I go through these family members' backstories, which I'm going to do in 2 seconds, you'll understand why I think it has to be way more than 75 fucking homicides. Maybe more like 1,000.
Email slaywhatpod@gmail.com and tell us, do you think 75 bodies is too many? Is that
or too? I think it's too. I don't think it's not enough. It's not.
That's the right email address, right?
Yes, slaywhatpod@gmail.com.
It feels like maybe there should be more like 1,000 corpses. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's called House of 1,000 Corpses. I mean, yes, that would make sense.
This feels more like a house.
I see where you're going with
corpses.
this now.
More like House of.
But I also
think of maybe 60 to 100 corpses.
As someone,
but they do say for over 75 homicides responsible for so like
somewhere between 75
that's probably
and
how many they
1,000.
could prove. That's how many they could prove.
I'm so sorry to bring it back to House of 1,000 Corpses, but there's that scene where Denise is like going to Dr. Satan's lair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that whole fucking catacomb.
Oh yeah, with all the
fucking
skeletons.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like more than 75.
There's more than 75 just there.
Well, maybe they never found Dr. Satan's lair, so they didn't.
Then they're fucking idiots because it's right on the grounds.
What do we know about cops?
They're stupid.
Right. Okay. Glad we cleared that up. Let's continue.
To reiterate, the sheriff that was murdered in the first movie, his brother,
yes,
is doing the police search and destroy at this fucking family's house. Okay?
Yeah.
What prompted this? The murder of a cop. Not the 75 other people. The murder of a cop.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. Anyway, so during this raid or during this shootout, RJ, Rufus Jr., is killed. Mother Firefly goes to his body, is captured.
Mm-hmm.
Otis and baby get out.
Do you know what threw me off the most, though? Was that Mother Firefly was played by a different actress because...
So do you know why?
Yeah, because the original actress wanted more money. Yeah. So they replaced her. But I remember watching it.
Yeah.
And I was watching it. You couldn't tell she looks
wildly different.
Yeah, I thought it was just like the passage of time. I didn't realize
younger.
that at all.
It's 5 years.
Hey, I look different than I did 5 years ago.
Correct. But women in their 40s or 50s are not going to age
drastically.
And also in that way where their eyes are different.
I believe women can do anything. Slay what? A feminist podcast.
Chance absolutely does not believe that women can do anything. In fact, I don't know if he likes women that much.
He is married to a man.
Yes. So how much can he actually like women?
I had a high revelation over the weekend that I need to be nicer to women. I'm not starting today, but...
Yeah, well, don't ever include me in that. I want you to be as mean to me as possible. I'd love that. Okay, so RJ is killed in the raid.
Yep.
Mother Firefly is captured by the police.
Yes.
Otis and baby gone.
Yep.
So the house is cleared, basically. The cops go down into the basement and they discover literally still women in cages.
Yep.
Corpses everywhere. Probably more than 75.
Probably more like 1,000.
Probably more like 1,000 corpses.
Between 75 and 1,000 corpses.
Exactly
That's
right.
a huge.
Name of the episode.
Yeah.
We need to start naming them more creatively, I think.
It's only episode 3.
We're calling it between 75 and 1,000 corpses.
Yeah.
Okay, so the police end up finding like grotesque like scrapbooks
Mhm.
of all of the Firefly families, like weird exploits of
Yep.
murdering women
Mm.
and men. We cannot forget Fish Boy, okay?
Yeah.
Never forget Fish Boy.
Don't forget
Never
Fish Boy.
forget Fish Boy.
Well, that's where you find out officially because I'm a stupid asshole. At the end of House of a Thousand Corpses, I was like, do we think Captain Spaulding's a part of it? In 2003, when I was 12, I was like, I don't know, maybe he's just in back of his car. Maybe
Yeah.
Otis was just back there. I don't know. But it was confirmed.
Yep.
Captain Spaulding is, in fact, a part of the Firefly family. And now we're going to pause for a family breakdown.
All right. Let's do it.
And you guys can ask me questions because I know more than what's on this. Okay. Mother Firefly. Her real name is Gloria Teasdale. Her biological children are RJ, so Rufus Jr.,
Yep.
Tiny,
Okay.
and Baby.
Gotcha.
RJ and Tiny are hers with Earl, who I didn't talk about this in the fucking House of a Thousand Corpses part, but Earl was Mother Firefly's husband who went insane,
Yep.
doused Tiny with gasoline,
Yep.
lit him on fire, and that's why he's deformed.
Right.
And he's also the professor. So Earl is the professor. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, that's like canon.
Okay. So that's Baby's dad too?
No.
No. Okay. I
Mm-mm.
didn't think so. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Yep.
Captain Spaulding is her dad.
Yeah. That's because I was like, she calls him dad all the time. Okay.
Daddy.
Yep.
Yeah. So Mother Firefly and Captain Spaulding are her parents.
Okay.
Okay, so Captain Spaulding, his real name is Johnny Lee Johns, which if my parents gave me that fucking name, I'd be a murderer too.
Yeah. I don't blame
You're gonna
him.
call me John Lee Johns? Gross.
Just let him do it.
He grew up fascinated by oddities, deformities, and serial murder.
Mhm.
He also grew up in an orphanage, and he's very close to his adoptive brother named Charlie, who he ran an illegal moonshine operation with so he could fund his museum.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then Grandpa Hugo. So he's presumed to be Mother Firefly's father.
Yep.
The actor who portrayed him had passed after the first
Oh,
movie.
gotcha.
And
okay.
so Rob Zombie omitted his role completely from The Devil's Rejects
Yep.
out
Okay.
of respect.
Yeah.
But he was supposed to be Dr. Satan.
Oh.
But it was supposed to be like, okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. It was supposed to be this like silly, goofy little thing. He was just like playing the role. So when we think back to House of a Thousand Corpses and the murder ride,
Yes.
and when they talk about Dr. Satan,
Yeah.
there's all these like little inner cut scenes about the murderers they talk about. So they
Yep.
talk about Albert Fish. They talk
And
about Ed
Lizzie
Gein.
Borden.
They talk about Lizzie Borden. And then they have
Yep.
all those. The actor who was playing Grandpa Hugo was in the surgeon outfit.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. But it was supposed to like ultimately be revealed to be an urban legend that like we just do
Okay.
this to like
Yeah.
going to Otis B. Driftwood. Probably the saddest backstory.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
He was abused and neglected by his biological parents so much and to the point that they never named him. So he had to name himself. He committed his first murder at the age of 14,
Okay.
presumably his fucking parents.
Yep.
And then he met the Firefly family soon after, but he named them because he had a fixation on the Marx Brothers, which will come into play.
Okay.
Fuck
But yeah.
Groucho. What I'll say about Devil's Rejects, some of Rob Zombie's dialogue in this is so fucking good. Like there's the scene right at the beginning where the cops are about to raid the Firefly ranch, and one of the cops says to the other one, like, I don't remember what the exact line is, but something like, "You don't be careful, you're gonna be toe tag, dirt bag, body bag." Just some of his dialogue is fucking great in this.
That's why I like this movie so much, is because of like his anger and his drive, and like Ooh, he's like this like dirty cop. But he does have the best lines. Almost. Otis also does.
Otis has great lines in this movie.
He always does.
One specific line that.
Oh, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Baby. We'll talk about Baby. Do you know what her real name is?
I don't.
I told you.
Yeah, you did tell me.
It's Vera Ellen.
Okay, yeah.
That's her real name. Have you ever seen White Christmas?
Yeah.
She plays Judy,
Oh.
according to this backstory. And also, I just want to say that this might not be canon. This is just what I've read
Yeah,
through a couple sources.
right.
She exhibited antisocial personality at a young age.
Makes sense.
She stabbed a schoolmate in the eye with a homemade knife at the age of 7.
I believe that 100%. No doubt.
She got really close with Otis when he came to the family, who
Yep.
nicknamed her Angel Baby.
Oh.
And then it was shortened to Baby. Otis and her did a cross-country murder spree before the events of House of a Thousand Corpses. But she ultimately returned to Rugsville, and so did he, a couple years later. So that's why I'm 75?
Oh, yeah.
There's got to be more than
75.
75. All right, return to plot. So after Otis and Baby escape, they obviously flag down a woman, steal her car, kill her. Baby then calls Captain Spaulding her father.
Yep.
Whose nickname is Cutter, by the
Yep.
way. I didn't say that, but his nickname is Cutter. To meet at their meeting spot that they had planned if the family was ever caught. And then Otis and Baby arrive at the Kahiki Palms, a rundown motel.
Yeah.
We meet a traveling band, 2 women, 3 men.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even bother to write their fucking names down.
I don't remember them.
I think one's Gloria, maybe. I don't think we need to know. Who are accosted by Baby and Otis. Their roadie is immediately shot and killed. So we're down to 2 men, 2 women.
Which, thank God, because that guy was annoying as fuck.
He was annoying. What was he trying to
Wait a
start?
minute.
Like some weird...
You kind of sound
He
like him.
wanted to be like a
No, I
rodeo
don't.
clown. He wanted to be a
He wanted a
rodeo,
rodeo clown.
a rodeo
Did
clown.
want to be
Yeah.
a rodeo.
They split up. Baby keeps the women at the hotel while Otis takes the men to find the guns he had buried previously. They try to accost him after he's like, well, you're going to die. Like, what's going to happen after you find your guns? Well, that's the end of the road for you.
Right.
And they're like, oh, fuck. So they try to accost him. It's Otis Driftwood.
How dare you?
He's going to fucking kill them. And he does. Terribly.
Yeah.
Which is where he has one of the coolest lines of the movie.
He says, I am the devil and I'm here to do the devil's work.
It's fucking awesome.
Do you know where that's from?
No, but I wish I had seen this movie before we met Bill Moseley.
Would you have quoted it?
No, but I would have told him how fucking awesome his line delivery was.
Because, oh my God, and he also just looks hot in that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the
and
devil's work.
His gorgeous blonde hair is. I also forgot to mention this. Otis B. Driftwood is fully albino in House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
100%
Yep.
fully albino, and he talked about this in the Q&A we went to.
Yep.
The Devil's Rejects, they abandoned that.
Yep.
They abandoned that completely. He's got blonde, dyed presumably,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
black beard,
Yep. And like
normal
eyes.
blue-green eyes.
Yep.
I am the devil and I'm here to do the devil's work is a almost direct quote from Tex Watson, who was one of the one of the Manson family murderers. Yeah. He says, instead of that, he says, I'm the devil and I'm here to do the devil's business. So Rob Zombie changed one word.
Yep. One
Yeah.
word.
But he delivers it beautifully. Like, oof. My note is, if we weren't clear that the Firefly family is basically the Manson family. Baby toys with the women before ultimately killing one of them by literally throwing a knife at her heart. Amazing. The other escapes the room and tries to get help before being captured by the arriving Captain Spaulding.
Yep.
Cutter. I said, Otis does his fuck shit again and skins one of the men's fucking faces.
He just loves
And
skinning
wears
people's
it into
faces.
the-
Yeah,
he
he just
loves
loves wearing people's faces as masks.
He loves skinning, and I think that. Oh.
But that is exactly how you can tell he got his inspiration from Texas Chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Well,
100%.
duh.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he puts that face on his girlfriend, who's the only survivor of this entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they leave. So Captain Spaulding, baby Otis leave in the band's van,
Yep.
which I didn't really connect. I should have.
I guess I didn't.
I think I was just like laughing
Yeah.
about. Okay. So that band, they leave in their van.
Yep.
The surviving woman is found by a housekeeper the next day, but is killed by a passing semi truck.
Oh yeah, that
While
was
she's trying to
so
fly down-
startling.
And it's also just her whole body is like a mile.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild.
She has, not only is she found by the maid, but she's got the skin mask over her face.
Over her face.
Yeah.
She's like gagged, and then
She's
they,
like running.
tied
This is
her
why I'm like, I
hands.
was so vague in this because the housekeeper goes into the room, which I fucking vibe with because I was a housekeeper for 3 years
Yeah.
of my life in high school.
Mhm.
4 years. When she walks into the room and she goes, oh, fuck this. And she's like, it fucking smells.
Yep.
And then she has to go into the bathroom and finds
The
2 of the bodies.
Yep.
And then it says the devil's rejects on the. See, I cut all this out because I wanted to be so precise. But I, like that was always my nightmare.
Hmm.
Is I was gonna walk into a like
Murder
scene.
scene in a hotel room. I
In a
totally
hotel
relate.
room
I
while
worked
I
at
was
a
a
hotel
housekeeper.
for years too, so I totally get it.
I know.
Actually, I did. It wasn't a murder scene. It was a suicide. But someone committed suicide in the hotel I worked at when I was a
Hello?
housekeeper. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep talking.
And you found it?
Yeah, I was working that day.
Wah, wah.
I don't know what else to say about that.
How do we continue? Me and Chance just stared at each other for like 10 seconds.
Just drop that shit.
She
I-
keeps doing this.
I keep
doing that.
dropping random tidbits of my life?
Lore.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm like super medicated, so I don't like think about this shit all the time. And then I like drop it randomly because it comes up in conversation. I'm not just like going around
But
telling
I'm
people
medicated
this.
too, and I just spilled about the naked man.
No,
the
Yeah,
last
but
episode.
I don't bring this stuff up unless we're talking about it. It came up in conversation.
Well,
so
it's
I
gonna
dropped
make a
that
great
information.
sound bite.
Sorry. Anyway, yeah, that happened.
We're gonna talk more about this later.
This is an off-podcast discussion.
Okay, so we cut away from that. We're back to Mother Firefly, who we remember was captured,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yep.
Well, the sheriff, whose brother died in the first movie,
Mm-hmm.
has been having some fucking weird dreams about his brother.
Yep.
Who died, and was like, you need to avenge me. If you don't avenge me, you're a fucking loser. And he's like, dope. So he wakes up and he's like, I'm going to go talk to Mother Firefly. Talks to Mother Firefly, realizes Mother Firefly was actually the person who pulled the trigger, killed his brother.
Yep.
And so he stabs her
Mm-hmm.
and kills her.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's it. He kills her.
Mother Firefly was so I wrote notes while I was watching Devil's Rejects,
Yeah.
and my note for first off, very early in the film, Otis is giving Will Forte. You know Will Forte?
Yeah, I love him very much, and I don't understand this comparison.
Bill Moseley's performance literally sounds like Bill.
I can
like
hear it. I can hear it.
Yeah.
I can't see it.
I can't see it, but his voice sounds so much like Will Forte at some points in this movie,
Ooh, I think
which is a fantastic parody that needs to happen. But the thing that I wrote about the interrogation scene is just Mother Firefly is brat.
she totally is.
She was so cunty.
She's so cunty.
Serving, just dishing it out. It's fantastic.
And then she got stabbed, and it seemed like she liked that even more.
She
Yeah.
did. She
Let's
loved
be
it.
honest.
Almost
And then she died.
orgasmic.
But yeah, those are different people.
I know that now.
You got to look back because they look wildly
different. It's like
different.
the first thing I noticed when I started watching Devil's
I
Rejects.
thought-
I know when I
No-
watched it I watched Devil's Rejects in theaters, obviously.
Yeah.
And I saw it and I was like, that's not
the
Karen
same.
Black.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I can tell immediately, like I can see it in my head, but just at the time when I was watching it, it did not occur to me that it was a different actress at all.
But I'm still gonna like judge you for that. Anyway, the sheriff and I'm probably the deputy, like his deputy, they realize that most of the members' aliases are Marx Brothers references. So like Rufus, Firefly, Otis B. Driftwood, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. Hugo, I think, is one. And so he hires 2 bounty men. I think they're called the Unholy Two.
Yep.
To track down the remaining members of the Firefly family. And then those Unholy Two find Captain Spaulding's associate.
Yep.
Through another Marx Brothers reference, which is Wolf J. Flywood.
Yep.
Which is another character. And so they're like, okay, we found this alias like in the system and we know where he is. So let's go find him.
I actually watched the Marx Brothers movie on accident. The day after I watched Devil's Rejects, I watched a Marx Brothers movie, and it happened to be the one that has Rufus Firefly.
Oh,
as the
that's
character,
funny.
which I thought was really funny. I just picked it at random. It's their most famous movie, Duck Soup.
Oh, Duck Soup. Yeah.
Okay.
So while this is all happening, the Firefly family arrives at Charlie's brothel, basically, which is, I think, the same building that they used to run their like illegal moonshine
Yeah, that makes sense.
area out of. And Charlie says that he'll hide them from the cops. And then they do a lot of drugs and a lot of weird shit.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The next day, Charlie is threatened by the sheriff. So the sheriff finds him.
Yep.
Charlie is threatened to give up the Fireflies, which he ultimately does. And the bounty hunters bring them back to their house. So back to the Firefly house. After a bunch of shooting happens, neck slitting.
Yep.
Bring them all in. Charlie sold them out.
Yep.
Sheriff brings them back to the house and tortures baby Otis and Captain Spaulding by stapling victims' pictures to their chest.
Yep.
I think he crucifies Otis. He uses a cattle rod on Captain Spaulding. And then he sets the house on fire. Charlie arrives to help them escape, tries to get them out, but the sheriff kills him with a machete. But then, as the sheriff is like hunting baby for sport, and this is kind of when I was like, don't touch my fireflies, sheriff. You're not allowed. I love them. Why? I don't know, because I like them now. The sheriff was like choking her out, baby out, and Tiny shows up and breaks his neck.
Yep.
And we love that.
Go Tiny.
Is Tiny a Deus Ex Machina?
Explain.
Because he shows up out of nowhere, having been gone the entire...
He's at the house, though. They're bringing back to the house.
Yeah, well, because the opening scene is him dragging a woman's body through the woods.
He's the most lovable character.
But he
really is.
but he just like is nowhere and no reference to, and then he just shows up at the end.
So yeah, then yes.
He's a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina, if you ask me.
But I don't know. I feel like the most bad for Tiny.
I know.
I think Tiny is the most innocent.
He is.
Absolutely, he's the most innocent.
Because back in 1,000 Corpses, when what's her name is tied up,
Denise,
like
He's
dressed
like
like a doll,
trying
he's
to
just
let her
like,
go.
well, not even trying. He's just eating
cereal.
Well, no, she's like, Tiny, let me go, and he's like, okay.
He's just, whatever.
He's like, let me just eat my cereal.
And also, his cereal was called Agatha Crispies.
Yep, I remember that.
That's fucking
And do you know
adorable.
who came up with that? Cherry Moon.
Oh, that's kind of adorable.
The love of my life.
Yeah.
Okay, Captain, Baby, and Otis leave in Charlie's car, who's dead, while Tiny walks into the burning house to die.
Bye, Tiny.
We did it, Tiny.
I love Tiny.
Fuck you. You never liked Tiny.
I just said he might be a Deus Ex Machina. That's all.
They approach, so they're driving in Charlie's car on a desert highway. They approach a police barricade and ultimately speed towards it while the cops and them exchange fire. We fade to black as bullets repeatedly strike their bodies.
Yeah, it is
Repeatedly.
shockingly so. Like, there's so many bullets.
They get shot a lot.
They get shot a lot.
So many times.
They're dead, right?
Surely they
super
must
dead.
be dead.
Run! Three from Hell. I'm going to go through this so fucking fast.
All right,
Ready?
let's go. Yep.
Released in 2019. So what is that? 14 years later.
Yep.
But technically 10 years after
was
the events of the first movie. It was going to have Captain Spaulding play like 3 from Hell. It was supposed to be baby Otis, Captain Spaulding. But Sid Haig, his health was declining.
Mm-hmm.
So they intended to have Captain Spaulding play a bigger role.
Bigger role, yep.
But because his health was declining so much, it had to be completely reworked. So they added a different character, completely out of the blue, never mentioned character before.
Mm-hmm.
When he was asked about like how, like his vision for this movie, he said he broke it down in 3 parts. And that was like documentary / prison break, and then a film noir.
Okay.
And then a violent Western that was set in Mexico.
Love that.
Cool.
Cool.
I said, should this movie exist? Probably not. Those fuckers were hit with what looked like 50 bullets apiece.
Yeah, they should have been dead after.
I would say they got shot between 75 and 1,000 times.
So many times. Between 75 to 1,000 times.
You call the ending of Devil's Rejects House of 75
shot
to 1,000
between.
bullets.
Yeah. Okay, this is so short. Okay. It begins where the Devil's Rejects like ends.
Yep.
And all 3 of them survived.
Somehow.
But they're all in intensive care. They were shot with confirmed 20 bullets apiece. I said 50. That's my bad. The trial happens and they appear to have fans.
Yeah.
They
People,
say
adore them.
They say free the 3, and they insist that they committed the crimes to fight the system.
Mm-hmm.
And Zombie confirmed that this is directly influenced by footage of the Manson family arriving and leaving their trials.
Yep.
Stuff like you remember ever seeing anything like that?
I did. Yep.
Yeah. All 3 are found guilty. And Captain Spaulding is executed by lethal injection.
He didn't do it.
Anyway, 10 years later, Otis ends up with prison with one of the unholy 2. You remember?
No.
Not Danny Trejo.
Oh.
Is it Danny Trejo?
It is?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Also, I was going to say Devil's Rejects, Danny Trejo, another Robert Rodriguez.
That's what I'm saying is like, because it's so like bright, like color contrasting. You can tell like he was at least influenced by him.
I'm going to just say right now, I'm terrible with actor names, and you know that about me.
Okay, well, that's why I was trying to reduce that here. And I said, one of the 2 bounty hunters
Yeah.
that I talked about, the
one of the
unholy
dudes.
2. So one of them, Danny Trejo.
Machete and Spy Kids.
Oh my God.
Back to Spy
It all
Kids.
comes-
It all
That's
comes
what I'm
back
saying.
to Spy
Robert
Kids.
Rodriguez directed Spy Kids. Robert Rodriguez, Danny Trejo, best friends, puts him in most of his movies. Danny Trejo in Devil's Rejects. So if we're counting Robert Rodriguez's Spy Kids to, you just pull a full bottle of wine out of somewhere? Spy Kids is the Devil's Rejects of the Spy Kids trilogy is the Firefly trilogy for kids, confirmed.
Do you know what I really want from you? A 5,000 word essay
Yeah.
on the comparison
Between Spy Kids.
between the Spy Kids trilogy and the Firefly trilogy.
I'm really good at bullshitting, so I think I could do it.
Please do it.
So am I.
All right.
We'll publish it.
So Otis ends up prison with one of the 2 bounty hunters while he's working outside with Danny Trejo. His half brother shows up. This is the random character that's like introduced in place of Captain Spaulding.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Winslow Foxworth. I can't remember his last name, but they call him Foxy.
Yep.
He shows up and helps Otis both kill that bounty hunter
Mm-hmm.
and escape.
Yep.
Baby is up for parole at around the same time. And it's clear she's more mentally unwell than ever.
Oh, yeah. And this is what I love about it. So unhinged.
Well, this is what Rob Zombie said about that. He said, I feel like in prison, if they were there for 10 years, Otis was always like the more unhinged character
Mm-hmm.
ish, right?
Yeah.
He only got more calm and like grounded in
Yeah.
prison, where he's like, I imagine Baby was the opposite, where she just like lost, like she's not existing in the same reality that Otis is anymore. Like she completely lost
Yeah.
her mind
Mhm.
in prison because she's not around people, and she
Right.
kind of like thrives. First of all, murdering. She loves that. And she has like no family anymore.
Right.
So that's what Rob Zombie said, is that he thought that those two characters would be like change roles almost.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so her parole hearing, I said, is resulting in probably the funniest scene of the entire series.
It is so funny.
We all need to watch. Well, everyone needs to go watch it. I don't really go into it much other than, so she's up for parole, or she is told she has 157 violations. And she says,
158.
158. And she's like, while she's walking into her parole hearing, she's like waving at everyone
Yeah.
in her little handcuffs. It's good. Everyone should just look it up. Anyway, she's denied parole, obviously. And what does she say when they're like denied parole for 10 years? Do you remember what she says? She goes,
That's cool.
yeah, that's cool. But then she breaks a guard's nose. So
Not cool.
Otis and Foxy are out, but they come up with a plan to break Baby out of jail.
Yep.
Plan is hold the family and friends of the jail warden hostage.
Yep.
Which they do.
Mm-hmm.
Get the warden to break Baby out by disguising her as a guard, which they also do.
Yep.
And then murder. Oh, no, that's not the plan. But they end up murdering all of the hostages and the warden anyway,
Yep.
even though they told them they wouldn't. And then Otis does his fuck shit once again.
Of course he does.
He skins the face of a woman and leaves her alive this
Yes.
time.
Tied to a tree.
But he actually, I didn't include this, he did it twice now in this movie. Skinned a face.
This is his second face skinning.
In this movie. In 3 from Hell.
He loves skinning people's
He loves
faces.
to skin a face.
He just loves it. It's his thing.
Yeah, he hasn't skinned a full body since House of a Thousand Corpses.
Right.
He's only done faces.
He really loves a good face.
He
skinning.
loves a good face. All 3 of them escaped to Mexico.
Mexico?
Because at one point Otis realizes like, oh, Baby is like deteriorating,
Mhm.
like
Bad.
mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, we have to get her out because she's going to do something weird. So they find themselves in the lone hotel in a small Mexican town during a Day of the Dead celebration, where the owner immediately recognizes them and alerts the bounty hunter's son. So one of the unholy two that Otis just murdered in prison, his son, Aquarius is his name, knows their whereabouts after a night/early morning of debauchery. And in parentheses, I put knife throwing, drinking, drugs, and tons of what looks like very unsanitary and unprotected sex. Aquarius and his henchmen arrive and various fights ensue. So it's like Foxy is having fights with some henchmen. Otis is having fights. Baby's kind of alone with this local that she bonded with.
Yeah, but when they like find Baby and she's got that bow and arrow,
Oh, she stole that from the warden's house.
I fucking love that
Yeah.
about her. She's like shooting people in the fucking heads over and over.
Well, that's why I
again.
also included knife throwing, because she won so much money from like,
Yeah, she
can knife throw.
Mm-hmm.
Baby and Foxy are ultimately captured by the like Aquarius's henchmen. And this is like 3rd act.
Yep.
We're introduced to Aquarius, 3rd act.
Yep.
All these henchmen, 3rd act. Baby and Foxy are captured and tied up, and they're both used to lure Otis out of the motel.
Yep.
Otis squares off with one of the henchmen in a machete fight to secure Baby's survival. One of the locals who bonded with Baby, free Baby and Foxy. They basically kill everyone.
Oh yeah.
The Firefly family does. And then they set Aquarius on fire while he's still alive. And then they escape into the Mexican desert. The end.
Do you know what I loved about this though? is in the very beginning of this film. Baby, when they get her out of prison, they're like, you can't drive. You're fucking crazy. And at the very end of the movie, the person driving away is Baby.
Yeah.
It's Baby.
But I think it's because prison is what made her
Right.
insane.
Mm-hmm.
When she's out, you can tell
Yeah.
she's getting better.
Right.
She also went through a lot of fucking weird shit in prison.
She did.
Which you see.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't include because I don't know. I did not connect with 3 from Hell like I did with Devil's Rejects. All right. You have more weird shit to say about the Devil's Rejects. Yeah, we never really asked you about.
My biggest problem with Devil's Rejects is stuff I talked about in House of a Thousand Corpses, is that I like the tone shift, and I like the fact that it's making them into like not exactly anti-heroes, but like they're the protagonists.
They're
of the
supposed
film.
to be the villainous protagonist.
Yeah. And I like that. However, my only problem is that is not saying anything. But differently, what I mean by it this time is that there's no lesson that they learn. So even though they're the villainous antagonists, the lesson at the end of the movie should have been something like they learn, because the entire movie they're bickering with each other as a family. By the end of the movie, they learn to stop bickering and work together as a family unit to do a bunch of murders. There's just no character development, you know what I mean? And just because when you say character
How are
development,
you expecting 3 actual sociopaths, psychopaths, villainous murderers, people who have raped and like eaten people, fucked dead bodies? How do you want their character to develop?
I want them to learn to stop bickering with each other because they're the family unit. They're the only ones who understand each other and work together as a family to do their crimes. Just because they're sociopaths doesn't mean...
But they were. That was the point of the end of the Devil's Rejects, is like they...
But it didn't... You can't just shoehorn that in at the end by being like, we're going to drive together into this thing. There's no like...
But it was also like, it was
development,
supposed to
you
be
know what
like
I mean?
this relatable thing where it's like, oh, they're still a family even though they fucking are disgusting.
Yeah, but it wasn't, is the problem.
Is that it wasn't relatable to you? Where they were like having like cute little cheeky fights? It wasn't relatable?
They were doing that, but they still... The point is there's no arc. You know what I mean? They can still be shitty people. I'm not expecting them to all of a sudden stop being shitty people. But I am expecting character... It's just bad character development. And just because you're doing a, grindhouse exploitation movie doesn't mean there can't be character. So I guess, again, my problems with it come down to the fact that it's just a modern exploitation movie. Because I guess in a regular exploitation movie, you also wouldn't expect great character development.
Like at all?
Yeah.
It's just going to be like...
But I wanted that. And I liked Devil's Rejects more than I liked House of a Thousand Corpses. And Devil's Rejects, I think, is objectively a better movie. But that was my main problem with it, is that there was no... There just wasn't enough of an arc for me to like care about the characters at the end of the movie.
I just don't know if that was like ever going to be Rob Zombie's.
Well, I just don't think Rob Zombie is a great writer.
And I don't think he ever cared to be. He just wanted to make a movie.
Yeah. And he did.
I don't know if should have existed.
I liked it. And I do think there's a little bit more character development in 3 from Hell than there was in Devil's Rejects, in the way that Chance wants there to be.
Maybe then watch it. I just don't agree.
Yeah, it's the only one I didn't watch, so.
It just felt like Devil's Rejects 2.0 to me. It was like, oh.
It sounds like Devil's
Rejects 2.0.
Rejects
It's like
2.0.
another revenge. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, let's wrap this up.
Okay.
Next episode, we're going to be talking about the movie The Substance, which I feel like was the best horror movie to come out of 2024.
I don't remember much of anything at all anymore. So I'm just going to agree with you.
Okay.
I'm sure it was.
It was great. All right. So we're going to be talking about The Substance.
Do you want to talk about the week after that?
No.
Just to get people caught? Oh, just in case.
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Fuck all of you. This week, this episode is sponsored by no one.
Okay. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Slay What is hosted by Vodvarka and Ariel Wisniewski. Production and editing is by me, Chance Smith at Strangehaven Studios. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at slaywhatpod. Shoot us an email at slaywhatpod@gmail.com. Check out our personal social medias. Links are in the episode description. And go to strangehavenstudios.com for more.